Hi everyone. Very good morning to each one of you. Thank you so much for your time. Today we are going to talk about cloud security, cloud attack surface, and how in the era of AI, it's a double-edged sword. To be very honest with you, let me first start with a quick introduction. I'm Gunjan Chhillar. I work for one of the world's fastest growing cybersecurity organization. I take care of India and SAARC as region. On a daily basis, I love to interact with organizations, understanding their ecosystem, helping them overall improve their overall security posture. And apart from that, I also am taking participation in conferences like that as a intent to give back to the community what I have learned so far. Yeah. So, in all honesty, I'm scared and nervous. I'm scared to talk about these numbers. So, you see, these are not just the ordinary numbers. The first figure, 300%. This is basically the reality of today's threat landscape. We are seeing a 300% increase in AI-driven attacks. What does that mean? Nowadays, individual hackers, malicious users are not required to put in a lot of efforts in crafting malware or payloads. They can simply leverage AI to craft a sophisticated payload, malware, phishing template to trap anyone that they want to. Another striking shift that we have seen over the last 1 year is 50% increase in access broker activities. You see, if you look at the overall parameter, earlier we used to focus on the network security, but now identity has become such a crucial vector. Why? Because it's super simple, rather super cheap to get the valid credentials of an or employee of an organization for a value as low as $5. And I'm not talking about ordinary credentials. These are your admin credentials, Entra admin, Okta admin, right? So what these hackers do, they steal these credentials, they sell it on places like deep and dark web, and over those places we have these access broker settings. What they do, they verify these credentials and they put a bidding process, which means whosoever puts higher bid for those credentials, they can have access to those credentials. Another factor is vulnerability. We have seen a crazy increase in new vulnerabilities, which makes the job of an attacker very easy when it comes to get the initial access into an organization. Let's talk about another factor. When an attacker gets entry into the organization, that's the stage is called initial access. The moment this attacker starts moving laterally, and of course that's the objective, because only when they can access as much resources, components in your environment, then only they're going to have a maximum impact on the destruction side. That stage is called lateral movement. Does anybody wants to take a guess what is the average breakout time? The time an attacker takes from initial access to lateral movement. Any wild guess? Okay, how many of you think it's in days? Hours? More than a day. The average is 48 minutes. And you know the fastest? 51 seconds. उतने टाइम में हम कॉफी नहीं फिनिश कर पाते जितने टाइम में आपका अटैकर लिटरली मूव करना स्टार्ट कर देगा. So when we are looking at defense ecosystem, when we are looking at security solution, we have to have a solution process, people in place which can beat them at this pace. As compared to the traditional tactics that we have seen over all this period of time, nowadays there is a huge increase in stealthy activities, living off the land attacks, which is very, very difficult to detect. Now, I would like to know how many of you work in a cloud team, cloud ops, DevOps, application stakeholders. Anyone from cloud team? Okay, we have few here. Great. What is the one word or words that rings a bell when you see cloud security? I'm not talking about vendor, cloud security. Misconfigurations. You need to be a little louder. Attack surface management. We have compliance security, we have API security, we have container security, we have firewalls, we have SaaS security, we have SSPM, we have container security, Kubernetes, workload protection, identity and entity management, and whatnot. Now, if you look at the modern state of cloud ecosystem, and fortunately, unfortunately, we are in an era where we have a multi-cloud ecosystem, ranging from public cloud providers, AWS, Azure, GCP, OCI, and the plethora of private clouds. Every single cloud service that you consume in your environment, we do understand it adds a significant amount of risk to your overall threat landscape. And we have a point-in-time security solution for every single service, all the names that I mentioned, right? Assume there is an ideal environment wherein I have all the best of the breed individual point-in-time security solutions deployed in my organization. Do you think that will solve my problem? Do you think there will be no challenges that my team needs to take care of? How many of you agree there will be no issues? No one, right? Okay, why? Because even if I talk about this ideal scenario wherein I have everything, there are still certain issues that I need to address. The first is cost. Of course, cost of procuring every single solution. But what I'm concerned is not the dollar value of cost here. The cost of having the right people who knows how to deploy these solutions, how to consume the data which is showcased on these individual dashboards. And I also need to invest so that I have the right skill set of these people who are going to manage these dashboards for me. The second is complexity. With every single solution added to my environment, there's a new dashboard, there's a new data, there's a new signal that I not only need to consume, but correlate and ingest in my ecosystem. So complexity of managing multiple dashboards. And last but not the least is ease of deployment. For a good enterprise organization, we have seen, even after procuring one of the best security solutions, they still takes good 6 to 8 months to deploy it in their environment. What does that mean? I have bought the fanciest toy in the security ecosystem. Still, all of my assets are secure because it's taking time to deploy. Do we think it's just us who knows these problems? No, right? Even the adversaries, the attackers also know this, and that's exactly what they want to exploit. So again, if we talk about these global adversaries, these threat actors, this is the data which is published in one of the global report of 2025. Your adversaries are nothing but nation-state actors, e-crimes, hacktivists, individual groups, whose only and only job is to attack you, customers, organization. I'm not going to talk about them. What I'm going to talk about is the impact of what they do. Through an example of one of the first publicly disclosed state-sponsored cyber attack. Ladies and gentlemen, it was one morning in 2009 that changed cybersecurity forever. Started like many modern attacks, one click. One click, all it took to what further became as Operation Aurora. Attackers have found a 0 day in Internet Explorer 6. But these were not an ordinary hackers. They were so proficient, they moved through the network like ghosts, barely leaving any trace. As they sought their real prize, source code, which is crown jewel to any organization. But that's not just it. What they were looking was something else. They were also trying to hunt information about Chinese human rights activists. The story takes a dramatic turn when one of the impacted organization, by the way, there were 34 tech giants which were impacted. You name any tech giant today and they were part of that list. One of the biggest giant, which is again one of the most famous search engine organization as well, did something unprecedented. Instead of quietly patching their systems, they decided to go public. Not only they publicly admitted that they are hacked, but they also directly finger pointed at China, a move that was unheard of at that time. Eventually, this tech giant left the mainlands of China and they are operating from Hong Kong. Even today, they are not operating from China, anywhere in China. They are still in Hong Kong, and I'm sure you will be able to guess the name by now. Operation Aurora was not just another data breach. It was the moment the world woke up to the reality of state-sponsored cyber espionage. It showed us that in our interconnected worlds, the lines between corporate security, international relations, human rights have become permanently blurred. It was the end of cyber innocence and beginning of a new war in the digital era. When we talk about these adversaries in cloud ecosystem, these are the two actors which are very, very prominent. The reason I say they are prominent, see, the advantages that we know of using cloud, automation, flexibility, capability, these guys also know. And that's exactly what they're looking for. We have Librachorima, whose only attack vector is cloud misconfigurations. The moment they land into a cloud environment, they instantly can see that it's AWS, Azure, GCP or any other cloud. Then they start exploiting the native configuration, the default settings, rather the default misconfigurations. So you see, they are not actually attacking cloud. They are exploiting the very architecture of cloud. The other adversary, scattered spider, as the name suggests, operates in a very scattered manner. By the way, another famous breach which recently happened, FBI talked about this adversary, scattered spider. This was for one of the biggest aviations organization which was breached. Scattered spider operate in a precise manner. Nowadays, if you're following the pattern, none of these adversaries is coming through one vector. They are always trying to make sure that they compromise as much vectors in the organization as they can. That's exactly what scattered spider does. Starts with valid credentials, stolen credentials rather. They log into your endpoints and then they start moving to your cloud. To make sure, because they also know organization now uses a lot of point-in-time security solutions, there are silos, there are gaps, which is what they are willing and they love to exploit. Let's look at the anatomy of a cross-domain attack. Starting with the low-hanging fruit, identity. If I am able to, as an attacker, I'm able to get the credentials from places like deep and dark web, my job becomes very easy. I am actually not penetrating in the customer environment now. I am logging in. So once I log in, I'll reach to the endpoint. Now I start trying to gather as much information as I can through the default settings, through the payloads that I'm running on this endpoint. Now through this payload, they start collecting information about cloud ecosystem, cloud accounts, so they can move laterally. If you see, when I have mentioned cloud control plane, so when they land at your cloud ecosystem, their aim is to land at control plane. Anyone wants to take a guess why? See, all our security solutions, antivirus, NGAV, EDR, whatever, is running on your individual workloads, your VMs, your containers, your Kubernetes, your worker nodes, right? These adversaries don't want to waste their time in fighting those antiviruses, those solutions. If they are able to land at the control plane without having your antivirus knowing about something is wrong in your environment, they can pretty much do everything and they can leave your infrastructure. So that's the power they have acquired now. They know where they need to land so that they can do their job silently without messing with anyone which is already deployed in your environment. Once they're in cloud, they can create their new IAM roles. They can assign elevated privileges to those roles. They can assign access keys to establish persistence. They can hijack your resources. They can create new resources. They can delete your resources. They can do data destruction. They can launch a ransomware attack. They can encrypt your data. And then they'll come back to the endpoint. They'll ask money for your own data. So this is the precise sequence that these threat actors are following so that they can compromise multiple vectors in your environment. And if you're an organization which is not using a solution wherein all these individual vectors are talking to each other, it's very difficult to find or stop these kind of threat actors. Here are some of the questions that I want to leave you with. I highly encourage that you guess about what are your answers about these questions, like what kind of cloud services you are using, how much of that is publicly accessible, how long it takes for your organization to detect a breach, and compare against the statement in red, which is actually the industry average, which is what we have been observing with every single organization, the gap in guessing assumption versus reality. Now, like a typical Bollywood movie, जहाँ पे mostly हमारा जो hero होता है वो double role में होता है, मेरी कहानी में भी कुछ ऐसा ही है. I'm going to introduce AI now, which is playing a double role here, both in the defense as well as offense. It's a double-edged sword. Again, like I know how AI is making my job easy in my day-to-day activities, these threat actors also know it can do all those sophisticated payload creation, phishing template creation for them. So AI is something which is used both by the authorized, the normal, the innocent consumers of cloud, as well as the one with nefarious intent. When you talk about usage of AI in threat on the defense front, threat detection. See, AI can detect threats much faster than all of us. We do know, because it is not just looking at those static indicators. It can also look at the behavioral patterns. It can look for those indicators of attack, which is more of a proactive approach of looking at threats. It can look at behaviors. It can see based on the past, the data, that the kind of behavior that we are seeing in our organization, the events which are happening today, are these normal or abnormal? And it is not just limited to your organization. If you tell AI a specific pattern, if you give them a specific indicator of attack, next time, the moment it sees a similar pattern or trace in your environment, not only it will be able to detect in real time, but also block before it executes in your environment. The next is automated response. Gone are the days when you wait, when you depend on your people to do this remediation, take the response. So many times, even before our security folks get up in the morning, we see AI has done most of the job. All those run books, playbooks that we have customized has been triggered. The response is already taken against the malicious, suspicious trends that we are seeing in our environment. And predictive analysis. So it is not going to analyze your ecosystem based on the past events and today, but it can also predict what is going to come tomorrow. So these are some of the advantages that AI has for us. AI is also evolving for these threat actors. Nowadays, they can create sophisticated malwares which can spawn itself at the speed of 10 times in an environment without having any kind of manual intervention from its user. Automated exploits. So many times we have seen, before an organization get to know about the vulnerabilities which exist in their environment, it's already exploited. All thanks to AI. The next is AI-generated phishing. See, when I started learning about phishing, one of the very common indicator that I was told was you'll find grammar mistakes. और ये कुछ ज़्यादा पुरानी बात नहीं कर रही हूँ, मैं बहुत ज़्यादा पुरानी नहीं हूँ, but it's just 2-3 years back. One common indicator was you'll always find grammatical mistakes. Gone are those days. You look at phishing emails now. perfect English, so customized. They know about your job, your title, your project, sometimes more than what your boss knows. This is the power AI has when it comes to crafting sophisticated, customized phishing emails or attack vectors for the people. And last but not the least is evasion technique. They can pretty much do everything, these AI models, without having your security solutions getting a notice of it. I was recently reading about an attack wherein an individual has built an AI defense system and suddenly it saw one morning that it was trying to combat an attack which was again coming from an AI botnet. By the afternoon, till afternoon, this fellow was enjoying the fight. But by the afternoon, it noticed something strange. The AI on the other side, the botnet, was trying to convince the AI on this side, boss, it's enough. You're tired. Why don't you take a rest? And that's when this fellow goes crazy and he just restarts the system and he has never used this. So it's a very interesting story. You can read about it. How do we build our defense framework? See, when we say AI is a double-edged sword, the power is not about the algorithm. It is also about how you consume AI on the defense side. It's very, very important that you design a framework wherein you understand the strengths as well as weakness of these AI systems. So first thing first is visibility. We have a very common proverb in security space: you cannot protect, you cannot prevent, you cannot do anything about something which you cannot see. So the first thing is visibility. But is visibility of everything that I consume in my environment enough? No. When we say visibility, it means observability with intent. Not only I need to know what am I consuming, but I also need to understand how these individual components are talking to each other. What is the correlation? So many times I have seen security stakeholders assuming cybersecurity or cloud security as a photography project. Picture perfect. Sorry to disappoint, it's not a still picture. It's a live action thriller. When we talk about visibility, there are two approaches which are recommended: agentless and agent-based. Agentless is always recommended to have breadth of your environment. With agentless integration, you can have a visibility of everything that you are consuming: AI, infra, storage, services, IAM roles, application, data, and whatnot. At the same time, when we talk about protecting our crown jewels, our workloads, our applications, our containerized ecosystem, that's where agent-based is recommended. Why? Only having an agent sitting on those workloads can assure real-time detection and, most importantly, the prevention capabilities. Remember the time it takes for an attacker, the fastest time for a breakout time? 51 seconds. So you cannot rely on your SOC team or your analyst guy to patch a vulnerability or a misconfiguration or a risk in your environment. It has to be done by your security solution. The next is prevention. You need to leverage AI for automated prevention. All the run books, rule books that you're using, your SOC team has crafted for your environment, you have to have AI to automate that. Nowadays, we have a lot of SOAR workflows to do that job for you, and the best part is those platforms don't require you to have a coding language. In plain English, you can tell, boss, I want you to take this action the moment I see so and so kind of threat in my environment. If you can give an example, nothing like it. The next time, before you know something has happened, that's already blocked by AI. So that's the power of automating these kind of manual automations or remediation tasks through AI. Detection. Detection is about looking at those indicators. Again, those indicators can be static or dynamic. You have to have a security solution which has the capability to detect these events, these patterns based on their behavior. It has to learn from your environment, how your ecosystem is evolving. It has the capability to ingest threat intelligence. Nowadays, I have seen a lot of customers bragging about, oh, do you know my security solutions throws 10,000 alerts on a daily basis? Is that your job? Is that what you're hired for? Your job is to reduce them, right? So you need to have a KPI that, great, I'm getting all the signals, but how fast I can move from signal to decision. That's a parameter that you need to set for your security solution. And that's where AI ML based with a threat intel, because threat intel always help you in getting a risk prioritized view of a gap. If I talk about a real-time environment, it's very common to have a lot of gaps, misconfiguration, vulnerabilities open. But it's not common to have high critical severity gaps open in your environment. So with threat intel, risk prioritization ensures that you don't have a critical or a high severity gap open in your environment, which can be exploited. And last but not the least is response. So like I mentioned, through AI, you can leverage SOAR. And nowadays, even in AI, there are a lot of models like Gen AI, which can help you with automated triaging. So whatever your security solution is analyzing, assessing, it goes to your SOC team. And on top of that, you can also ask your Gen AI modules to do the triaging for you. Not only it has the capability to ingest signals and context from other components like historical data, but it can also give you a quantified view of the accuracy, how accurate it is for this platform to throw this detection. What kind of impact it's going to be there in your environment if this gets exploited. We are in an AI arms race. I'm sure now you'd be wondering, and most of you will be having this question, AI is everywhere. AI is here to take our job. And I love to answer this question when people ask me, is AI is going to take our job? No. See, AI can do a lot of things, everything. What AI cannot do is, it cannot ensure a security first culture in your people, wherein every single employee becomes a sensor. What differentiates AI, the double-edged sword, is not the power of the algorithm. It's the augment humanity. Because human element is something that AI still does not have. AI does not know how to bake security in every single DevOps commit that your developers are doing. It cannot ensure that you have right investments in your organization to train your people so that they are learning about those evolving techniques. So when we know these are some of the issues which AI is still struggling with, why don't we make these as our strengths? How many of you heard people are the weakest link in the cyber chain? All of you, right? See, in the era of AI, they're not the weakest link anymore. If you do the right investment from a security standpoint in your people, they can become your biggest asset. In the fight of AI versus AI, it's not the artificial intelligence that wins, it's augmented humanity. That's all from my side for today. If there's one thing that I want to take home from this session, it's going to be this. You need to understand your environment. You need to invest in your people. You need to make sure that you find threats where they actually are, rather than where you think they are. Thank you so much for your time. I'm not sure if I can take any question. Yeah, if there are any questions, happy to take. Otherwise, we have a feedback QR code. Yeah, we have a question. Can we please pass the mic?
My question is, what is the base that you are saying that human is not the weakest link? And second question, how you're confident that AI is not going to replace human? Because I will tell you one example. There is a company in Bangalore, they are doing a QA automation. They are saying that their vision is to I was talking to their founder. Their vision is saying that they want to absolute 36,000 Q automation engineers in India in next 1 year. So think about it. So I need both the question answer that how you are saying that human is not the weakest link, because they are still the weakest link in the company based on my investigations in the
Correct.
past.
I'm not saying they are not. I'm saying they cannot remain the weakest link. Now that we see AI has this drawback and we see this is a strength that we have, at the end of the day, I think for a good number of years, as much as I can foresee, at the end of the day, it's always going to be a human operating an AI model, whether it is for a good purpose or a bad, right? So having that AI intel is great, but you also need to think from a mindset of a human who is operating that AI. I'm not saying AI is not going to, how do I put it? It's not going to reduce your workload. It definitely, all the basic tasks, all the mundane tasks like creating a PPT, even I took a help from AI in creating a lot of slides there. But the basics mundane task is something you can offload to AI. When it comes to creativity, sophistication, that's where human augmentation is something that's irreplaceable still. So what I'm trying to say is, you know you have those weakest link, but you also know where exactly you need to make the investment so that they can become your greatest assets. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. But still, what you mentioned, still, we really don't know tomorrow what is going to happen that AI can take.
Absolutely. Any other question?
Hello, thank you for your time. Thank you for the information. This is Swan from Terra System Labs. I would like to raise a question that how this security thing across the cloud or IT infra, what is the monopoly of we Indian corporates is, as per your exposure, I want to understand why, what I have realized that we take it as a luxury investment. Why is it so? And when we are going to take it as a first, investment, prioritize investment.
You're asking from a cloud usage standpoint, right?
Yes.
Yeah. See, organizations still use cloud as an appliance, plug and play.
Correct.
What we see in cloud, the default is most of the time convenient, not secure. Whenever I'm provisioning an S3 bucket or an EC2 instance for that matter, you see there are certain default settings which are the configurations which are most of the time misconfigurations, right? So if you're not looking at the settings while provisioning these cloud services, highly likely you're leaving the main door open for these attackers. We have seen that misconfigurations has been one big reason why cloud attacks happens, right? Because you just need one rookie intern with an access to your cloud accounts to provision anything. They do their testing, they go home without worrying about, do I need to deprovision this service? Do I need to look at the security settings or not? So that's where it's important to understand that with all the advantages that cloud offer, it's also impacting your attack surface. You also need to make sure, unlike a traditional data center, which is a perimeterized ecosystem wherein we have people in the organization taking care of the entire asset inventory, we have firewalls in place. In cloud, it's not like that. There is no perimeterized firewall. Anyone can come from anywhere, and they just require one simple misconfiguration. So that responsibility is something that lies within organization. And again, go back to the basics. Why do I need to invest in security? So my simple question to them is, boss, are you saying कि मैंने गेटेड सोसाइटी में घर लिया है जहाँ पे एक बहुत अच्छी थर्ड पार्टी सर्विस सिक्योरिटी सर्विसेज है, I should not lock my apartment? That's exactly how cloud works. The provider is responsible for security of cloud, but every day you are responsible for security in cloud. What you are provisioning at your application layer, the data, the user, the configuration, that is something it's your responsibility to secure. Hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, if there's any other questions, I'll be around. Feel free to reach out. I have my coordinates. You can follow me over LinkedIn and Instagram. If there's anything that I can help you with, more than happy to support. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks a lot.